Conformity. This is changing behaviour to go along with a group. And this part is the Milgram experiment. In the Milgram experiment, this guy, Stanley Milgram, sat at a table with a little pen and a pad and said, right, who wants to become part of this experiment? 5 people came along. They both got either a learner card or a teacher card. And when they turned over the cards, they got the teacher card, every single one of them. So he hooks them up to a voltage meter. And it went up and up and up, got to them, pressed the button. Obviously that happens. Only 15 volts though, so no death. Then he showed them this. He went, you're going to be the teacher, you've got the student there with the test. And then you've got an experimenter to keep you going if you get hesitant. If the student gets the question wrong, then you will press the button and send an electric shock through the wall up to the student. Obviously it looked like this though, and there was no actual student there, because 450 volts could be life-threatening. When we ask question 1, if the student gets the answer wrong, then the first shock is given. However, if the teacher decides not to shock the student, then the first shout is given. Please continue. This repeats up to 4 different shouts. The shouts increase in severity, adding more pressure. But if the 4th shout does not prompt the teacher enough to continue the experiment, then the experiment ends. If the teacher then shocks the student, then they up the voltage and ask the next question. This voltage always starts on 15 volts, but keeps going up and up and up. If the student gets an answer wrong and gets shocked, then sounds on the speaker will be played to sound realistic. That could be smashes against the wall, shouts of crying. But then if the teacher keeps pressing the button, the voltage keeps increasing and increasing and increasing. If the teacher presses the button on max voltage 3 times, then no sound will be played on the speaker to simulate death, and the experiment will be complete. Now we look at the statistics where 100% of people got to 300 volts. And 65% of teachers gave 450 volts. And then when the setting was changed from an office, the high shock rate of HCR was dropped to 48%. When the learner was touching hands with the teacher, HCR dropped to 30%. When orders came by phone, HCR dropped by 23%, and when the learner was in the same room as the teacher, HCR dropped to 40%. It's good to note that HCR means highest shock rate. Obviously there was pros and cons to this experiment though, which shows by the strict control of variables, the established cause and effect. This is a low list of pros, however the cons are quite large. There's a low ecological validity, and this means that it's not really natural. The test is deceptive, there's a lack of protection, and maybe the teachers potentially knew that they weren't shocking people, and they were just going along with the test. Milgram also showed that there was a high stress level within the situation, so this could sway results. Now moving on to agentic state, this is an individual who behaves as the agent of another person. This allows them to deny responsibility. The autonomous state is when you have control. The agentic state is when you give up free will. And the agentic shift is just the autonomous state to the agentic state. The agentic state also brings in 3 factors, and this could be the insistence to authority, let's say the experimenter's prompts, the pressure of location, this is maybe because it was conducted in a university, and the unwillingness to disrupt, and this could be because participants may feel that they couldn't stop because they were already paid. Situational factors refer to external explanation of obedient behaviour. This could be the proximity, how close the individuals are, the location, the prestige of the location, and the power of uniforms, the prestige of profession. To try and remember this, I think of a guard outside Buckingham Palace, and I think, how close can people get to the guard? So there you've got the proximity, how close you get to the guard. You've got the guard, which is power of uniforms, and you've got location, which is Buckingham Palace. And then we move on to authoritarian personality. You've got a test from Adorno et al., et al. Meaning and others, in 1950, where he created the F scale, or fascist scale. This was created for children raised in strict households. He said that are more likely to develop authoritarian personalities, and higher scores of authoritarian personality are more obedient and disciplined. However, this might be counteracted by the Elms and Milgram study of 1966. They conducted a correlation study where they saw that correlation was not equal to the causation. They saw that the fascist scale experiment might be easily manipulated and that the F scale correlates with actually the education levels rather than being raised in a strict household. And then you've got non-conformity. You've got the independence, which is lack of consistent movement. That's maybe people doing their own thing, being independent. Then you've got anti-conformity. Anti-conformity is adopting behaviour of a minority group, like doing things that a small amount of people want to do. And this wraps up the Milgram experiment from AQA psychology.